an answer, try as much as possible to stay with a 3-minute limit. As of now, we welcome you. As you can see, we have several board members with us. We have Dr. Pinimo there. I am Reverend Wambui Njiroge, Mr. Kevin Goge, Mrs. Lucy Simio, and Dr. Nancy Wamba. That makes up Board of Directors for Mental Health Trust. Without further ado, we are going to switch back to our host and MC tonight, that is Mr. Kevin Goge, and he is going to read a disclaimer and also share with you a telephone number that you can call when you are in a mental health or substance abuse crisis. You do not need to be alone. We are here for you. Thank you very much. And please, you want to know that this is a live recording, is going to YouTube. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Kevin.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Hey, good evening. Thank you again. We're coming back. Yes. To share those really interesting matters that concern our families, our health, our men, our women, our children. And we are humbled again to join and share a few items that we do kind of feel of concern, and at the same time, items that from time to time we see them come over and over again in our community, and we try to have a platform where we can engage and pull a chair, pull a TV screen, and let us join it. Say these are dinner table talks, and we are back again to share some interesting topic today. Thank you for our host and also for our speaker tonight. I'll be sharing one screen here in just a minute. Actually, I hope it's coming through correctly. Can you all see my screen there? Just some numbers here that are very, very sensitive. And these are just numbers that you can reach out for when you need some help. And from time to time, they'll be coming around your screen. So if you need some help, don't hesitate to call these numbers. They are tallied to your zip code, to your local area, and someone will answer and provide you some help. And we also have used them ourselves for family members and friends. So on that screen, we do have a disclaimer. We are here as clinicians, and we are not counseling your former clinician that you go to, you have appointments, you have checkups. We are here to supplement and provide some more cushioning. And if you need our services, don't hesitate to reach out to Come Now and also Reverend Wamboy, and you'll get some advice and a connection with one of us and how we can be able to support you. But we're really, really excited for topic tonight, and I'm really excited to hear the story, the outcome, and how we handle these situations from a speaker today, Mr. Come Now. At this point, I'll quickly hand it over back to Reverend Romboy for our next step, but don't hesitate if you need to see these slides back. Keep an eye on the chart. You can quickly message and someone will be looking at there. Also, if you have any questions as you type them in, we'll be taking them towards the end of the program and answer them and provide advice or any form of assistance that might be needed from that platform. Awesome. Back to you, Reverend Wamboy. Thank you much.
Thank you, Kevin. I have a disclaimer here that suggestions made here are never a substitute for your treatment as required by your doctor, your psychiatrist, your counselor, your psychologist. You know what? For us common people, we just call them counselors. If you're a psychotherapist and you're here, you're a community worker, you're a community leader, you're a minister, you are right at home. You're a mom, you're a dad, you're a student, it doesn't matter. This is our forum as a community. It comes to you free of charge, and this is the 5th year. We started with the prompting, and the idea came from Mr. Anthony Come Now in October 2018. And it seems like we are back there where young people, and especially young men, were committing suicide. But guess what? It is getting better because we have better information. But we have a new number nationwide in the United States of America. You can call when you are in a mental health crisis. Kind of, the police are wonderful people. I have called police in various circumstances, and they have been absolutely helpful. One of the most helpful situations is like when you have a car accident, or there is a crisis, somebody is threatening, they're going to harm you, and you don't know what to do, and you must call. But for mental health, we have also witnessed in this country where there is escalation of mental health when you call the police. So this number, there's a number here for National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. You can text to 88788 because, we are in a digital time. We are digital citizens right now. And sometimes you might not want to talk to somebody. But the number I want to share with you nationwide is a suicide lifeline and substance abuse. It's very simple. We want you to memorize this number like you have memorized 911. And that number is 988. You can text 988. You can chat, and it's produced by lifeline.org. So you can chat, you can text, you can email. This is a faster number. We are encouraging you to learn it just the same way you have learned how to call 911. So 988 is for mental health issues, substance abuse, things that when I ask the police to come to my house, they enforce the law and they are doing the right thing. But we don't want to escalate a situation. I am trained, experienced, and have education in areas of mental health. Therefore, it's easy for me to just calm a person down until we get to the next level. And that's why we are highlighting 988 as a number to share with your people who are close to you or people in your area of influence or your family. And what you do is that they can call this number when they're in distress. God bless you. And now, relax, sit back. What you're going to do is we are going to invite Mr. Cam now. He's going to introduce himself, and he's going to answer a few questions that he has. So to guide us through his presentation, we want to know if he can just take a few minutes to tell us what does he want to talk to us tonight? Why? When did this happen? What did he do? What can other people do? And a question that is on my mind tonight is, which I just added, is like, who can you call after midnight if you call 911 and they take too long to come? You call 988, you don't get the help. Do you have anyone in your life you can call after 1 a.m. in the morning and they will answer your call and try to help you, other than your mom or your dad, other than your parents, other than your wife, in case you're together with your wife and you're in a crisis, or your wife doesn't know? Who can you call? Supposing you show up in the emergency room, and who would you call that would pick up your phone after midnight? And let's hear from Mr. Cam now, his experience. In the next 15, 20 minutes, we are going to pay attention, and then we are going to ask questions. Instead of me calling you, hey, how did this happen? He's well guided, and he might even take a shorter time. Yes. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. Tragedy. I wanted to give a story that what went through in my life end of January. I remember very well. It was 27th of January. It was the day before my birthday and celebration that I was planning to do. So on that day was 7:25. I remember I was leaving my place and then I was entering the highway. So this strategy, the accident, you don't think about it. So I was accelerating from 25, entering the highway, and then the 64 highway, which is one of the major highways in Missouri. So I was focused going to work, paying attention to that. You know, left, if somebody can mute, I was looking left, entering into highway because when you look left, cars come from left, going to the right, and I didn't pay attention to the right. I was looking at the left. And the moment I looked back in the right, going towards where my lane, I was like, oh my God, there's car in front of me. And I'm accelerating from 25 to 40. And it's like, God, I'm dying. That's the first thing I saw. And the car was right there. So it's like they were stationary. I don't know what they were doing. And it's like something told me in my head, go a little bit on the left. So me going to the left was a big bump. And I said, God, I'm dying and I'm not ready to die. And my head kind of twisted and I went a little blank. But the idea of me hitting the car so hard and, the bump was so hard. So at least my idea of me going a little bit on the left kind of helped me to avoid the entire car coming on my face. So if you look at my video and the picture, you can see that. So I was like, my goodness, I'm not gonna die. I have so much things to do. So I blacked out a little bit, and God, I don't know what happened, miracle. The car went to the highway. So the car was stationary. I remember was an SUV, the big SUV, white in color, was a huge SUV. I was like, my goodness, this is like a truck. So when I went to the left side, I was a little confused, blacked out a little bit. And in my head is like, what do I do? I shake my head and then I think the airbag hit my face so hard. And then immediately I was like confused. And I was like, what do I do? So do I get out of the car or do I stay in the car? So something said, oh, if you leave the car and it's down the hill, a car will come and hit you. And I say, okay, I'll stay in the car. But I looked at my hands were free, kind of my head is spinning a little bit. I lift my leg up, my legs were fine. I'm not, nothing has broken, but I can feel my head because of the airbag and the steering wheel. And I say, oh my God, I'm still alive. I'm still here, but I'm a little confused. So when I lift my head was down. When I lift my head up again, and I started seeing a little fire in front of me. There's fire coming out. I was like, oh my God, there's a fire. And I say, I'm scared of coming out of the car. I don't know if I will. My legs are fine, but I have to run. So I tried opening up the left side of the driver. It couldn't open. And I said, God help me to jump on the other side. I said, Jesus, I'm here. I'm not dying. I just gotta save me. Gotta save me, God. I have so much things to do. So I jumped. Immediately I jumped on the other side and thank God there was a car behind me, a Mercedes Benz that I stopped. So everybody else stopped. So I came out quickly and I lifted my hands up, but I was kind of staggering. I think I was unstable. And then I went to the other side. And then I think the Mercedes Benz guy was like, are you okay? Because I was literally out. I was staggering a little bit. I felt like I want to fall down. But I said, God, I'm not falling down. I'm not going nothing. Nothing's going to happen. So immediately across the road, the car exploded. It was like within a minute. So that's what happened. The strange part of this is this guy is asking me, are you okay? I'm like, I'm nodding my head. And I went to the side of the car because it was snowing that day. And this girl in the car, she's young. I think she's 16. And I'm like, can I jump in your car? I'm really cold. And she's like, no. I said, you hit my car. I can't allow you to come in here. I was like, okay. So I was kind of dizzy off a little bit. And then I started praying. I said, God, help me. I don't want to fall down. So the ambulance took like 15, 12 to 15 minutes because of traffic. They had to go around. I was like, by the time they arrived, the car had almost gone. So because her car was kind of preventing me to see what was happening on the other side, the ambulance people came running. They thought I was in the car. So I came out walking slowly and I waved to them and I said, I'm here. And then I say, are you okay? Everything is okay. I say, I'm okay, but I'm dizzy a little bit. Do you want to go to the hospital? I say, I need to go to the hospital. So immediately, they took me to the ambulance. They rushed me to the hospital. And then when I arrived there, my high blood pressure was so high. And the doctor was kind of surprised, like I was still alive. And the guys with the ambulance were asking me, is that you? Were you in that car? I say yes. And as I say, I love Jesus and I thank God for protecting me and saving me. And he said, you need to start preaching like crazy. I say, oh, I love Jesus and I think after him saving me, I'll be able to do that. So they took me to the hospital and I started thinking, my head started rolling. And then I was there for a while. They took my test. So in my head, I was hearing the crunch of the car, the noise of the car, like iron, whatever. My head was kind of going off, and they took all the tests. They looked, my bones were fine. My blood pressure was high, but eventually I was there like a couple of hours. It came down. The only issue was my knee. I had so much pain on my knee, but after some time, the police officer came and the two of them, and they were asking me questions, blah blah blah. Because what happened is anytime you hit somebody at the back, it's your fault, regardless whether somebody is stationary or not. That's the rule in Missouri. So they talk to me and they say, "Oh, okay, you're a mature guy." And I said, "The young girl was 16, but she's fine." So after a couple of hours, like 7 hours, I was released. I dropped her home. Now that night, I couldn't sleep. After that, I started feeling pain on my knees. Um, you know, they told me to start going to therapy. But the dilemma, then that's what happened. And then the journey started uh, of fear. I started thinking about, I couldn't sleep at night, shaky every night, pain, and I started my therapy. So in the process of having my therapy, I started looking and thinking. A couple of people reached out to me. I shared immediately. And I said, man, I'm going to miss work. And immediately I called my boss and I was fast experience. I was replaced immediately. They don't care. That the fear started coming in. Oh, I've been replaced immediately. So okay, I know I have some little money, but how will I survive? That's the first fear. The second fear is you're not sleeping. You're worried. Worries start coming because once you're in an accident, you start getting worried immediately and getting scared of unknown because of my knee, and I have to start going therapy the next day, the third day, 4 days with that fear, with that you could hear in your head so much noise. You start asking yourself, what about if I died? I was almost dying. And it continued like that for a while. And then in my head, I'm like, how do I survive? You know, you think as a man that you need to survive. You have saving and all of that. So in the process, like, oh, let me call my insurance. Oh, you have liability. Okay, liability. Okay. In liability in Missouri, we can't pay you. You can't pay for your car. You have to pay them because you had them. You knocked their car, so you have to pay them. Okay, what about my ambulance? Your insurance will pay for your ambulance. And what about my medical care, my medical care? Because you had liability, they have to pay for it. The insurance, my medical insurance has to pay for it. Your car insurance doesn't pay for it if you have a third party. And that's something that I learned. I was kind of like last year when I was getting my insurance, and I'm almost done. I took liability instead of full coverage. I was like, oh my God. And then when talking to Reverend Mombo, he's like in Atlanta, you're forced to get full coverage because sometimes people don't have insurance. So the dilemma is when you have liability, you have to buy your new car. So I started thinking about, oh, I'm gonna go back to work. Where do I get the car? What do I do? And in my head, I'm going through the pain on my knee. I'm going through this craziness in my head. I'm becoming unstable. Because my son is at home. He's so jumpy. I become so angry easily. And until now, I'm still struggling with that anger. I used to be, the anger used to take this longer to come. Now it's this smaller to come. I'm usually agitated now. I realize that I'm movable. If I don't sleep well, I'm very unstable. So those are repercussions of accident and whatever you go through because of an accident. So I started thinking, oh, I'm connected. How do I get help? I reached out to a couple of people. I say, oh my God, I'm famous. I know I have this kind of money. So when I know I have this money, and then my auntie who I love, it's a process of of tragedy. Within a week and a half, my auntie died. Oh, they call me. Oh, we need money for hospital, and I'm the one stepping in because of my connection. And people are struggling at home. So the little money I had to help because I'm like I need to help them. So within 2-3 days, I reached out to Dr. Toronto, who helped me connect to the hospital in Eldoret. But by the time I'm stepping in, she had stayed at home for so long. Like she's my mother. So I had to step in and pay bills, make sure that she's buried well, me and my cousin. So the little finances I had to spend there. And then within 2 weeks, again, something else happened. My cousin died again. So it's trauma after trauma. So how do you overcome that? I'm like, oh, I have friends of mine. I can reach out. So I call a couple of people, even ministries and all that. But the sad part, when you're known, you think that you have connection and people will step and help me. They should not assume that you're financially stable. They should say, oh, our brother's in trouble. He's gone through a lot. I even intentionally posted about my auntie to see I was even doing a test that if a man is going through struggle, what will the community do? And I was doing also an experiment because God provided to one or two people. But I say, in my situation, what I'm going through with my struggle, how can I be helped? Because I'm known. So I decided to do an experiment. My first experiment was to share the video and to share the picture. Oh, I was involved in an accident, which is true. And then 3-4 people stepped. And then one person sent $25, the other person sent 50, and then somebody else who I thought, oh my God, this is a huge person, 1050. So in total, on that time, I got 320. That was my first experience, an experiment. And I said, okay, all right, this is Come Now. I'm KEMEN leader. I've shared in KEMEN platform. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just sharing my experience so you can learn where I'm heading to. So I said, okay, that's the first experience. And then I had a brother of mine called Shege. Shege has been so supportive. Reach out to me. He used to live in Massachusetts. Now he is in Portland. Supportive, very supportive. Reverend Ramboy, very supportive in prayers. Kevin, always there. So in total, I got 350, which is okay. I appreciate it. So, and then I shared about my auntie, who's like my mother. And then a few things happened. So I started thinking, man, if me, who is known, can get that little help, what about somebody that is not known? So I said, what about the concept of our community? Why is it so? And I shared with Alex Miner. He was in Boston Marathon. Where do you get help when you're in trouble? So I opened up with Alex and I said, what is it all about me? And I shared my story. And I said, okay. And he said, it's so unfortunate that and I said, if I died, Come Now died, the next day maybe I'll be getting, because I'm known, I'll be getting 100,000 in the committee to be buried. And my brother told me, I said, if somebody can send you 500 when you're dead, And I said, why? Why is it that in the community? To bury you quickly. I said, to bury me quickly? Somebody, right now I'm alive, I only got almost 400. And when I die, they'll send 100K. I'm like, because they want you to get buried quickly. I said, what do you mean by that? I said, that's our community. So that was lesson number one. The lesson number two is um, don't don't have a liability. Make sure you have full coverage. The lesson number three, make sure you have life insurance that can help you. I have one, but that one is when he passes away because I know if something happened to me, my son, my wife will be okay. But now I've been thinking about the one that I think after it's called what? I don't know. There's a name for it that you get an insurance you can use when you're leaving. It's out of my mind right now. So those are the lessons that I learned. And now, above all, having people like Reverend Wamboi, who you can call and talk to, having people like Kevin, who you can call to and talk to, having like Bishop, who you can call and talk to. But my biggest lesson is that we need a system that can support each other when you're alive, not when you're dead. So right now, I'm continuing with my therapy, and now I was talking to my friend this week and said, Tony, I think you need to get a counselor uh, to talk to you about other issues, which I'm working on now, because I realize I can easily get agitated, and that's not good, a good sign. So I just wanted to share my experience. I've been worried about, my biggest worry is about those people who are not known. So it's no wonder people can be easily homeless in this country. No wonder people can be in trouble. And I know so many were in trouble without willing to be helped. So my prayers for our community is that even the church, I was like, I even the church could not step up and say, hey, right now I'm okay because my boss gave me their car. I'm using that. But I'm like, why can't a brother or a church or a pastor say, Tony, we're gonna buy you a car? I'm saying that because we need to do better as a community. We need we need to send a give me a flower now, and that's what I'm gonna end with. From this, I'm coming up with a slogan which I've been sharing. Give me my flower when I'm alive. Buy me lunch when I'm alive. Support me when I'm alive. Reach out to your neighbor when they are alive. Don't wait till they're dead and you say they're. Tell me I'm good now. Tell me I'm the best guy right now before I'm dead. Don't wait till I'm dead and then you bring all this flower. Give me my flower now. So that's where I am. I'm still struggling, but I know with God's grace, with so much love that I have, and thank God for Him Stars, because through Him Stars, I'm able to be stable and to know that there's hope and there's a future. So I'm officially now back to work, and I fell behind a little bit on my bills and all that, but God is providing and God is faithful. So I just wanted to share my story. But please, 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 if you don't remember anything from this video or this comment, please give someone flowers now when they are alive. And please, let's take care of each other when we are alive. We can take care of the dead, but please, the most important thing is when we are alive. So I just wanted to share that. Right now, I'm okay. I'm doing better, but I need to continue meditating and take care of my health and sleeping a lot. Thank you very much, Reverend from Boy. God bless you.
Thank you, Come Now, for sharing your personal story of a tragedy as a result of a very serious car accident where your car got totaled. And the issue is, I'm going to encourage you and say thank you, thank God that you are alive, because life cannot be substituted, but I know material possessions can be. That's a very important question you have raised for our community, because it seems like the community is crisis oriented or in a crisis mode, to the extent that we are having brothers and sisters suffering, including being homeless, when we have lots of space no money, and we have lots of
The
money.
last one on her webpage, Mental Health Stars Association.
And sorry, thank you. And so we want to find out more clearly. Myself, I would ask you, what is your support system in your community? One of the key things I shared with Mr. Anthony, I told him that the most resources are available in an individual person's zip code. Where do you live? In your zip code. In this country, you can have a lot of resources. That's for resources. But we want to find out about your support system. We would put it in 3 levels. Level number 1 is family. Can I table to diaspora that most of us, especially myself, I've been in diaspora so long. We have been in diaspora together for so long that we have been longer with Anthony in this country than my own brother, than my own sister, and done more things in the ministry especially, and in the community. So please know that when we reach you in the diaspora community, I call you diaspora fraternity, I'm looking at you as you're my brother, you're my sister. I cannot reach my brother in Kenya, and he cannot reach his brother in Kenya. Can you see? He has a fatal accident, a really bad accident. The car is totaled, uses a lot of money, has to go to the hospital, and yet our families back home, they are saying, oh, mom has passed away. We need your help. So how do we help each other? Let me open up for questions. You can directly ask Anthony questions. Even myself, I'm trying to gauge myself so I don't go over 3 minutes. Questions? How do you ask questions? You can ask a question on the chat. You can write it, or because you're not a lot of people, you can raise your hand. And if you're shy, we could also turn off the YouTube, but maybe people want to hear these questions. How do you navigate the system? You heard what he said. He has insurance, but his car is written off. It's actually burned down. It takes about 5 minutes for a car to burn down. So that's a miracle right there. And then where do you go from there? Who do you call? That was the question I asked. Who do you call in your most critical time of trouble? Who is the first person, the second person, and the third person you would call?
Yeah, so if the first thing that I did, maybe I can help answer a little. Call time, because I asked them to call 911 because I couldn't be able to do that. And then the second part that I was thinking was my family. Call my family, and that was it for me, because I was like, who do I call out of that? So that's what I did. Thank God my phone was in my pocket.
Oh, exactly. And keep it charged when you're traveling. Yeah. In your community where you live, I remember sharing with you about your zip code and talked about a few places where sometimes when you have an incident like this, you can look for help. A key is that in this country, there's a lot of help, but nobody will ever offer it to you most of the time, or even tell you it's there. So you have to go looking, and you have to ask questions. For example, I would say, if your friend did not offer you a car, maybe you could contact United Way and ask them if somebody has donated or can donate a vehicle that you can pay for insurance for and drive. And sometimes they can be actually donated for free, and it can be taken as a tax deductible gift. What other resources are there in the community? And I want to solicit the support of everyone online. I see Florence online. I see Kevin. I see Dr. Wamba, Bishop Mother. We want to know what are community resources that we can access.
Reverend Wamboi, this is Regina. Let me jump in a little bit. It depends on where one lives, because in some states, the Kenyan community kind of pull together. They have established resources where if one is in need, they can, jump in and help. But you have to be a member of such an organization.
So Kenyans are forming organizations, and you need to be a member. Actually, I have a group like that for women. We call it Sisters Keepers. And in cases of emergency, no questions asked. We already have established, but we make a contribution monthly to the Sisters Keepers. These are friends that we know. We have been together for some time, and all the time we are trying to raise money, and it's getting harder and harder in diaspora, as Mr. Kam now has said, because it's not just meeting our needs in diaspora and our brethren in diaspora, our diaspora fraternity. It's also that we have family outside the United States of America. And you have also heard that the government says that we send a lot of money in remittances, especially to our family. So we are in this together. So number one, thank you, Regina. We're going to give you credit for that. We have community organizations, but now we're talking about going forward. But were you a member of such an organization when this happened?
Oh, you are talking about me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you don't think about that. You think like, nothing like that will happen to you. It's something that I've been thinking about to start in our group, and I even came up with an idea. I already did all bylaws and everything for it. So I was supposed to start it last year, but I wasn't able to. And also, to be able to do so, no. So I didn't. And, some things like that, you start thinking about it. Because usually I'm a member of a benevolent group. For that, I'm a member of one. And I never thought about it of help like what you're saying. So that's something that I'm now officially gonna push down the road, to know that we can come up with a group just to step in and help somebody else when they're in need. That's a good idea. But I'm a member of a benevolent group based in Atlanta, but not for the needs that what we're talking about. So that's something I'm thinking about, and I'll push to start.
Oh, yeah, because benevolent groups, like you say, take care of the dead and not the living.
Yes. That's amazing. Good to know. So can you share about, you have a group that specifically help people in need in your group? That's what you're saying?
Well, it's a very small group. We don't have a lot of money, but we also looked at what Reverend Regina has said, that we all are wonderful with budding people, contributing thousands, even people to visit home. But somebody's home can be repossessed because of $3,000. And we will say that that's a personal business. It is our business also, instead of a brother or a sister becoming homeless. I know for sure in America, many people can live from paycheck to paycheck, and you cannot go without food because you can access food. But there are other emergencies. Instead of putting it all on diaspora, I wanted more to ask for community resources. For example, what is there at your workplace that can help you in times of need? Anybody? Can you file for workman compensation in cases like this, when it affects your work and you are laid off? Can you file for unemployment benefits? Can you call Red Cross because there was a fire? They resort or resolve or come on your scene when you have a disaster or something like this. And that's why I brought in United Way, Red Cross, Salvation Army, Can somebody share what happens in your neck of the woods or in your neighborhood?
Kevin had shared something. Kevin, can you share about, you talked about workers' comp a
Mhm.
while ago.
Yes, I'll share. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll share my screen real quick here for a few items that I was able to pull. So, for example, this is one site that people can look up into for some urgent needs. It goes by zip code. So, for example, if I choose zip code 300 80, you just press enter and you search things that are available for you. If it's housing, goods, and these are stuff like donation centers or places that they have food banks, transportation. Sometimes you have companies that volunteer so many hours to transport people, and sometimes they pick up an area like a certain zip code and then they'll transfer you to the main transport system. So, for example, if you don't have a bus line by where you live and they have transportation from maybe let's say my zip code 30080, they might transfer me to zip code 30084 where there's a bus route to take care of that. And then you have some of them that do have community clinics. So for example, for some of us who don't have the paper, there are community clinics that will actually treat you for basic illnesses. I will speak of one is in Atlanta area. There is a Good Samaritan, and there's also another clinic called Grand Park Clinic that has been there for years. They do take patients in and also look at your local uh, community health center. They always have either an assigned nurse practitioner or a doctor on certain days, and they do provide some of this support. Now, for finances, there are some places you can go in your local zip code, depending from this site that you can get access. They might not provide you cash money, but some of them do provide vouchers. It could be like a housing voucher or a food voucher that you can use to a local grocery store that they are connected with that support some of these local government uh, donation areas. So these are just some few items. This is one website that's very useful and savvy. It's very recent to just you type in your zip code and you can pull some resources that are around where you are. Now, in terms of insurance, a lot of us who are employed, we do have insurance provided by your employer. And sometimes it's good to kind of look at that window for the thing they call it open enrollment and how you have subdivided or allotted your uh, distribution per month. So find, for example, you could be getting maybe $300 taken out, but you have short-term disability. Some of us have FMLA in there. Some have HSA in there. So these are just benefits that you receive through your place of employment. And some of us, due to lack of, not knowing, we leave some of these benefits untouched, but they're there to help us. Just for example, and I'm just going to use Cam now. Thank you for sharing your wonderful, wonderful, miraculous story.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you had to be off work for maybe like 4 or 5 weeks due to a certain injury, some people have taken short-term disability can cover you within that time. Some of us have PTO, and you have so many hours. You're like, hey, I'll keep saving my hours. I want to go to Kenya in December, and boom, it's in February. Something happens. Use your PTO so you can, stay home, recover. Sometimes you can use FMLA that kicks in, but from my experience, I would recommend try to use your PTO. It's really, really good for when you have such kind of an incident or you have incidences that happen at home. Talk to your HR person. They are always very welcoming to hear your case and guide you correctly on what you need to do and what you need to apply. If you're going to be on FMLA, please listen to what they say. A lot of companies use a third party. You need to be very good in sending information so you can get approval and get the processing done right. And just be honest with what you're going through. If you need extensions to stay at home or even accommodations when you go back to work. And I'm just going to use come now. So, for example, if he needs a special chair, he has therapy probably that he still has to use. And this has to be accommodated within the work hours. For example, sometimes therapy, you have to go physical therapy maybe for 6 or 8 weeks, but the doctor cleared you to go back to work. So it's good to understand that terminology and just present it. A lot of companies will review your case and also review your accommodation. So when you go back to work, if you need to sit or stand so long, they will be accommodating for that. If you need to maybe take a longer lunch break twice a week to be able to attend therapy, because a lot of therapies are between 8 to 5, so they will be accommodating to that. And sometimes there's something a lot of us don't know. There's outpatient physical therapy. That one can go for a very long time. You just have to be able to get it to a good schedule and you can take it for a while. Now, the final thing I would just say, it's good to, if you have to have a lawyer on your case, it's good to have one. They kind of advise you along the way, and also they look for your best interest. So these are just a few things that happen. We are here, we are working, and it's life, but things happen. It's really important you review the benefits that you have for such kind of things should it happen. That's my take on that. Sorry, I took a little bit longer, but over back to you, come now. Thank you.
All right. Before I go back to Rev, and then she can finish because we're almost done. One thing that I was so surprised after I got released, they say, okay, we want to provide for you a car to take you home. I was like, I hope not the ambulance. And they say, no. They say in-house, there's something I was really surprised. I don't know if they are there in other places. They have social services in the house that provide rides. And I was like, oh, they can provide rides for me. And they were able to provide a nice car to take me back home. That was really surprising because I never knew they can give you rides home. Yeah. So that's something else that whenever you go to the hospital and you can't get your ride home, haraka, you can always ask. We have social services that can provide that in the hospital. So they were able to provide that. But I was just curious. I used it. I could have called a taxi or one of my friends to come and get me or someone. But you know, I was able to get it because they provided. I was like, oh wow, that was pretty cool. All right, there. God bless. Thank you, Kevin.
Oh, can I add something real quick?
Yes.
Mhm.
Just remember also depending with the nature of the incident, some especially for people with chronic conditions, and maybe I'm just assuming maybe you're at home, you're alone, and you cannot cook or you cannot go to the store. Some of the insurances that we have, I think Humana is one, Cigna is another one. They and also I believe United Health and Anthem, they do have meals for the first 3 weeks for some of the uh, after being discharged from the hospital. So there are things around. It's good for once in a while, just review your brochure that you have that you get every year when you enroll for your annual benefits for your insurance. So it's really, really detailed in there. Sometimes we just check stuff and just go. And you're like, hey, in the time that you really need it, what do you do? How do you go about it? Who do you call? All those things are there. It's just a matter of sometime take a break and just read through and call and ask questions. There's a lot of systems within this American system. Be aware, and hopefully next time we'll try to get someone online to kind of support our team on that. Back to you, come now.
All right, Rev. Thank you,
Oh,
Reverend.
yes, I want to share. Sometimes there are many people here that might not have all these services like insurance, work. Some of us, or I'm just saying us, because I have in the past worked on a job that had nothing, just my own labor or the labor that I provided. So sometimes you may see that people are creating a WhatsApp, and I think it's a very wonderful tool, but it doesn't operate on its own. I want to help people to remember that you have levels, like you are the first person. You can give your family, your wife, somebody close to you permission. For example, KEMEN as an organization, somebody, maybe the secretary before now, can be given permission that should this happen and we need this, this is how we go about. So the first level is you and your family, because we are part of a family. Second is the church. Most of us are in a community something. If you're not in a community, in a diaspora church, you are still in a church, even an American church. I've been a member of American church, and I remember my work was, if somebody is in distress, was to take dessert. I would buy a dessert and take, and now somebody else, you take the meal, somebody else transportation, like that. Find out what is in your church, because church is also a family. Church in the United States is so resourceful. We have everybody in the church. We have insurance people, we have doctors. Let's work with the people that God has given us. And then the fourth level is the well wishers. This is now when you see me sending a joint link and say somebody needs help. You have to be most vulnerable, because you're sharing your information with a larger population, and it goes very far. It will go back home. That's why I say start at home. We don't want to start fights. So these WhatsApp forums, they don't happen. I can't just start one because my friend is in need. Also because it has, we are receiving money. In this country, you'll be in more trouble using other people's money than anything else. You can likely go to jail in the United States of America for raising money and no accountability down the road. There is nothing that is so clear that leaves a perfect path in the United States. Not your testimony that you are born again, you're a pastor, wherever you are a wonderful worker. That means nothing. Money, your bank account, where the money came from. They always say here in this country, follow the money. You want to know a person's life? Follow the money. Like if you are to be investigated. And that's why I am highlighting how we use that WhatsApp forum. So even when I hear that my friend is in distress, I can't just do it just because I love a person. They are, and by the way, they are not written. These rules are not written. I just came up with them when we were putting a small group together, saying that we have to have levels, because your pastor, if he hears that Reverend Waboy is doing A and B and C with their mushirika, hiyo itakuwa shida jameni. How about your buddies? You have home buddies. You have buddies that you work with. If they hear you're doing something and they are not involved and they don't know, they're going to know who gave Waboy permission to do that. So I have a good heart. I would like to help, but I just can't do without your permission. Can we be giving people consent, even in writing, even in an email, to do certain things, and then it can move along? And probably that's why when a person passes away, people are more likely to respond, because there is a system of how we do it. See, we have done really good on benevolence. Thank you, Reverend Regina. I think we need to take the next step when we have an emergency, like a medical. You are emergency. Now, because this benevolence is mostly for people back home. Very rare for here. And also a caution, because I have exceeded my 3 minutes. And a caution here is like this. For us who are diaspora fraternity, we are living here. I'm going to really ask individuals, remember the people at home, here, diaspora, where we woke up and where we sleep and where we work, because our people are suffering, and yet you will bring me I'm just using me to be personal, so that I remove it from you. You can blame me that I'm grown up. I can handle it. I'm saying, somebody, you can send me something from Facebook because of compassion, like the stories that are going, or YouTube. You don't even know the person. You have never seen them. You never meet them. You don't even know whether they are fake. But Anthony is here. You know him. Some of you, we have met him. We have shaken hands. We have eaten together. We have been in the household of faith together. And why can we not help? So I am standing here for diaspora fraternity and saying charity also begins at home. And that's probably why we are crisis oriented, as if by guilt. Myself, thank you. I don't think it's by guilt. I think we are just superstitious about death. We're going to bury you so that you can bury me. No, if you bury me, I won't be burying you. I will not be contributing. So it really doesn't know. Let us help our brothers and our sisters. But I believe, check where you are. Check at work. Check in your church, your community. And by the way, the reason I'm saying community is because not everybody in a church, everybody may not be a member of a church, although I would love for you to be. But let's just be real. Oh, can I tell you something? Even if you're here and you go to a bar, you have drinking buddies, you can come up with something. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw in that just in case you're here. And I want to be inclusive. And you don't have to be a Kenyan. You can also be, American people also do have this support system. And what I'm talking about is we need to establish our support system where we go to, because Kenya, we raise funds one time for you. One. The second time, gonna be really hard. So for my brother, when he was going through a struggle, people did not know, shall we send money to him or for his mom, of his cousin? Did you say cousin or nephew? And so they decide, you are gonna be okay since you are speaking, but the one at home is the one we are going to lay them to rest. We don't have a choice. That so please, can we talk? Let's say, oh, sorry. Oh, I'm returning the hosting to Mr. Kevin and Mr. Cam now. They are going to conclude for us. They are going to tell us the way forward. But we want you to know we are here for you. And we meet every fourth Tuesday of the month. And I know I'm going to, Mr. Kevin, we have Bishop with us. I don't know. We have Nancy with us. I don't know. I can't tell because all I see is the audio. So thank you.
So thank you very much. Before we end, we have 6 more minutes. Anyone among the KEMEN stars want to say something? Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. I saw you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, hear me?
Yes. Go ahead. I don't know why you can't hear you. Okay. You can't hear you. Can you try?
Sister Ruth, let me send a message.
You hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. I would like to comment. First of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing. This is very enlightening. I started to say I'm a friend of Reverend My Boy. First of all, I don't know if you heard that. Thank you for sharing. It is very enlightening that we can be the mouthpiece. We can help others. However, Reverend My Boy, I'll address it to you and to all of you who are on this line. How do we get the message out there that there is a support system? I know that as being a part of the Kenyan community, joining you all many years ago, that you are so connected. I have not experienced that with the American people. It seems like a lot of these issues they're not freely discussed. I believe we need to get more of the message out there. And my question is, I would like to be a part of getting the message out there. I would like to be part of whatever, however, to get the message out there. And so my question is how, as an individual, my community and the senior community. And, I pray for the people here. And I know even from my own experience that, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to discuss it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want people to know that we have, the loneliness, the depression. We don't want them to know. We don't want them to know how we're hurting sometimes. So again, the question is, how do we get the message out there? How can I be a part of getting that message out there? That there is support. God sends people to me, it seems like more and more. I've been on a 7-week journey for the Lord out of Georgia in South Carolina. And he put many people in my path, including the homeless. And, there was the Holy Spirit that led me and to help these people. But now that I hear this, there needs to be that next step. Okay, what's the next step? Because I, as one individual, I couldn't take on what I took on. And I tried, and then I realized, I went as far as I could go, and then it was very hard to let go of one person in particular who has disappeared because of mental health issues. And I, did not have this information beforehand, although he ended up going to rehab, but then he got out of rehab and he disappeared. I helped him, in the day he was out. And so again, how do I do one as myself, one individual, or others that may be listening and thinking, okay, how can I help?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Oh, nice. So I think with Reverend Romboy here, I think you guys have connection. We can be able to start thinking, how can we step out? How can we share the information that we have in our locality and community? Like what Mr. Kevin shared is very powerful information. So I think we need to be an advocate of that information. Tell people, hey, when you need a car, you can get it. When you need a job, you can get it. This information is available. So I think that's going to be big. And maybe Reverend Boy can say something before we give somebody else, 2 more people. Rev.
Oh, yeah. Kevin has left the line at this time, and he did a fantastic job. We commend him. The way we get the word out is just what we have done now. We put the word out and people will get to know. If you're in a community, you can get the information. It can be hung in a bulletin. It can be shared. It can be sent through social media. And but I believe that the greatest asset we have is people. Be connected with the community, with your community, whether it's diaspora community or the American community where you live. I live in isolation I don't have a diaspora community where I live, but I know my pastor, but you cannot call my pastor after hours. So in America, there are inbuilt mechanisms that work and operate after hours, because if you call our church, you are advised, like after 10, if it's a medical emergency, you call the hospital. Oh, in case you have to go to hospital in your zip code, I highlighted zip code, please go to a state hospital and in emergency, regardless of your situation, they will not turn you away. But if you go to a private hospital or for a private, paramedics, that's another story. So yeah, there are inbuilt mechanisms in the United States of America. That's why maybe they're not forming groups like we are, because people buy insurance, personal insurance that can cover you in critical times, even when you're out of work workman or work. It was called workman. Now I don't know what we're gonna call it. Yeah, work comp. Let's just call it work comp to be inclusive, and other resources. But I realized that the diaspora community, we are newcomers. There's somebody who came here 5 years. They're struggling. They're trying to make ends meet. And here we are saying you can have this. I want to recommend that if you have a tragedy for real, if you have a tragedy, people, if you have a tragedy, individual, let's say like your house burned down, that one, regardless of who you are, it's so important you connect with Red Cross. They respond to calamity, they respond to disaster, they respond to issues like that. Plus, the report that they write, the report that is written by the police, the report that is written by a counselor, like when you call, the report that is written by United Way can actually be the one that helps you get those access other services. If you're ever hospitalized, ask for a social worker. She can connect you with other resources in your community. So try to speak. Like I said, there is enough help, but nobody is telling you this is the help. So you ask. When you are being admitted at the hospital for any little thing, they do ask you, do you have money to pay? Most of you say yes. You say yes, and you don't have, and you don't have insurance. There's something called indigenous patient that you can fill a form even at admission, so that they know they are going to treat you and you don't have money, but they can't turn you away. And so there are many help services like that. Talk to a hospital social worker when you come into contact, like especially to the hospital, are more familiar with that. And they also make referral. Oh, we are mental health association. We can refer you to any services in the United States of America. Actually, sometimes even globally. What I cannot do, I don't have the money to help you, but I can refer you to somebody who has the services and the support and the money that you need. For example, let me use just a house burning down, because we had several houses burned down in winter among diaspora people. And we had all these WhatsApp forum before even the fire people had come. Everything cannot be provided by United Way, and everything cannot be provided by Red Cross, and everything cannot be provided for the homeless by the Boston Homeless program or project, but money is still necessary. So I'm not saying don't raise money. I'm just saying go the extra mile and get the resources that are here, because the diaspora fraternity is going to get fatigued by giving money. But I know for sure, because that when your house burns, it cannot be taken care from beginning to the end. If you're renting, you need to have a renter's insurance as much as possible, or your landlord has one. I kept my things in a place, they burned down, and this guy had insurance. I am just learning like 20 years later. I never asked him anything. I was just glad we are alive and things can be replaced, and they have surely been replaced. So ask, keep asking. So I said, Mental Health Association, we can refer you, especially for mental health issues, or even material things that are necessary for you. Say like you are going to go to the dealership, they are going to give you a car, and maybe I can ask them if they can literally give you a car, give you a vehicle, permanently write it off. I can do that. There's no harm in asking. So please ask. Do not be shy. Remember, you are not alone. You are not the first person who is going through a difficult time or a tragedy. We all will. Everyone here, you will face a trying time. That's why we are here together, to bunch together, to support, to encourage, and to tell Anthony that thank you for sharing your story, because Sister Ruth, you asked how. This is how. This is how Mr. Kam now said, I want to share my experience. And it was almost sad because he also shared with me. I did not send any help, but I didn't have it either. But I can give you prayer, or I can give you a referral if I don't have the money. But when I do, I give. I give until there is nothing more to give. I want to give until there is nothing left to give. Amen. And I'm going to return the meeting to you so that you can close for us with prayer. And our scripture for Mental Health Association is Mental Health Staff Association is from Proverbs 11:14. That in the multitude of counselors there is safety. Do not be silent in your times of trouble. Do not be ashamed. Do not be afraid. If you're ashamed and troubled, please call on me, because I will not be ashamed to support you. Just like I will not be ashamed to preach, to pray, to sing, and to stand with you.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. So
No.
before I close, anyone in KEMEN Stars, Bishop Penny, Bishop Modern, anyone want to say something before I close?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is Nancy. I wanted to say hi, everyone. That I thought there was one thing that was forgotten, and it's insurances. Some insurances cover accidents, they cover hospitalization, and they don't. If you are out for 6 months, they'll cover you. AFLAC is a good one. That
Oh.
covers hospitalization, covers accidents, a
Hmm.
multiple number of things, so that if when you're in need, you have some money coming in. I've had to rely on that at some point.
Oh,
So,
good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing. Yeah, thank you.
okay.
Mhm.
Or let me ask Nancy, do you mean like insurance to fill in the gaps? Because Anthony already had the insurance, but it was liability only. So it covers the other person.
I'm not talking about the car.
No, the gap.
Yeah,
Insurance to fill in the gap.
but the insurance like AFLAC, they are designed to serve you when you're sick, when you are not going to work, when you are an accident. They give you extra money irrespective of how long you stay. You'll have made the decision in advance. Maybe 6 months out of work, they'll pay you on a daily basis or monthly, based on your own salary, and they'll cover. They're not, and life insurance. Some life insurance, like the one on the sister, the preacher who was sick for 40 days. She has a cover. She has an insurance that is really good that they're selling. What is her name? Zipporah.
Pastor Zipporah. Yes, minor.
Yeah. So they're sorry if she's here. And there are other insurances like that. I know Colonial does it. AFLAC does it. So it will keep you going just for a few days while you organize yourself and your friends. But I know they do pay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Good information. Wow.
Great. Excellent.
All right. Is there anybody else? Bishop Penny? Somebody else? Before I close? Okay.
Well, today's
Right.
discussion was very. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was saying today's discussion was very informative. I had tried to enter in since 9,
Sorry, I
but
thought I apologize.
the little I heard, particularly from Reverend Wambui, sparked me to speak things that I did not know where to take them. Particularly from in October last year, my left eye suddenly turned bloody red, became red, bloody, out of nothing, out of nowhere. And I have never had any insurance in America, no plan for health. So I did not go anywhere. I just went to CVS, so some eye drops that were to turn the eye again white. And indeed, after 2 days, it had gotten rid of the redness, but the eye was not seeing. And I wondered what that would. I have prayed about it. I see it is coming back. It is now seeing a little. But I have thought very much of how to get some health insurance. I do not know how.
Oh wow.
I do not know how, because if I have had one, I would have visited some hospital somewhere.
What state are you at? What state are you at?
KEMEN, Massachusetts.
This is Jane. Call. Let me put my number. You call me.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome. And as Bishop has said, we have lots of resources. I'll be sharing with you. If you're a Christian and you don't have insurance, na hakuna makaratasi, there is also a Christian organization that you can co-pay ahead for health insurance when you need it.
Wow. Send me those details, Reverend.
Okay, sir.
Obamacare is also available whether you have papers or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anybody else want to say something? Thank you, Jen, for being here. Jen is from Ohio. You want to share about your group real quick? What's something coming up before I wrap it up officially? Jen?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi everyone, and it was such a delight. Thanks, Ma'am, for sharing about the resources that are there in our community and the stigma around mental health. We've all been trying to work on that, and through God's grace, at least we can see the ceiling is breaking. Our organization, UHAI, we work with African immigrants and refugees, and we connect them to services. Matt mentioned that there are services and resources. It's only we don't know where and how to access them, but they are there. She mentioned about talking to social workers in the hospital, and sometimes it's very, it can be very discouraging when we, especially like yesterday, I had, there's a lady who passed away in South Shore, and we've been, I think the family was trying to get something, and the system sometimes becomes very complex to navigate, but it's when they called me to